The holding of regional elections on December 6, 2020, and implementation of the provisions of the country's constitution where Cameroon stands as a decentralized unitary state, the election of regional councillors, the last move to complete the decentralization process. Leaders of political parties and their sympathizers hailed the convening of the electoral colleges from a demonstration to respect the setting up of institutions to the volition to foster local development. Their views are highlighted tonight. The number of holders of a higher national diploma skyrockets daily in Cameroon. What options are offered to meet local demand, and how do graduates fit in the job markets to earn a living and to create wealth? The 7:30 News investigates. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were our headlines.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
The Constitution of Cameroon stipulates that the country shall be a decentralized unitary state, one and indivisible, secular, democratic, and dedicated to social service, with regional and local authorities comprising regions and councils. The convening of the electoral colleges for regional council elections on December 6, 2020 is a translation of the fulfillment of the institutional architecture. Ebenezer Akanga has the details.
The Constitution of January 18, 1996 created new institutions in the Republic of Cameroon, notably the Senate, the Constitutional Council, and regional councils. Part 10, Article 55 of the Constitution states that regional and local authorities of the Republic shall comprise regions and councils. Out of the new institutions created, the Senate and Constitutional Council have been put in place. What is remaining are the regional councils.
It is very important that all the institutions so provided for in that constitution be put in place, and if they don't work well, then people can start asking for a change.
More importantly, the regional councils will complete the process of decentralization.
With the putting in place of these regional houses, we think that it's going to enhance the decentralization process, and power and responsibilities will go closer to the people. The people will be the one to select those who sit in the regional houses, and if those sitting there do not work well, the same people will remove them.
On the whole, the holding of regional council elections on December 6, 2020 will complete the process of setting up the institutions created in the 1996 Constitution.
After yesterday's presidential decree summoning the electoral colleges, it is now time for the election governing body of the country to begin material preparation for the polls. At Elections Cameroon, Elecem, voters' lists are being compiled. Candidatures will be received for the next 15 days. Beatrice Lawson will report on what is being considered now after the convening of the electoral colleges.
90 days to the regional election in Cameroon from the day of the convening of the Electoral College. The countdown to the election day begins.
Elecam is ready. We are preparing the list of councillors and of the national rulers.
Elecam expects regions to nominate candidates within the next 15 days by September 22, that is. Right now, cleaning up of voters' lists is of utmost priority to the elections governing body.
They have 15 days to depose their candidature at the division level. And after 15 days, our division department have 5 days to transmit here in Yaoundé. The electoral board examines the candidature and they publish it 60 days before the day of the elections.
Going by the election calendar, the publication of candidates happens on October 7, and campaigns for the December 6 regional elections will kick off 2 weeks earlier on November 21. The material organization of regional elections starts now. Preparation of ballot boxes and other voting material is imminent.
The Ministry of Territorial Administration has pledged to ensure the fair and transparent holding of the election of regional councillors throughout the national territory. Minister Paul Atanganji reiterated that all persons with hidden agendas and calls for boycotts will face the law. This was in the course of a press briefing yesterday after the announcement of the December 6 regional elections. Joyce Kimbi Fuajo has the highlights of the declaration.
Lot of excitement amongst the electorate, be it the municipal councillors or traditional rulers. They are all anxious. But the complete data of all traditional rulers and their locations in Cameroon has been promised ELECAM by the authority in charge.
By making available to Elections Cameroon all legal instruments, namely the database of traditional chiefdoms, will provide ELECAM with optimum security for the elections of regional councillors.
Since the win of the regionals were perceived in the country, it has been at the center of most conversations. While many are excited to see its outcome, a remote number of politicians are gesticulating against. But a strong warning has been issued that not even an ant will be allowed to perturb this maiden process.
I want to make it very clear that no disorder shall be tolerated from any political party or any political actor. Those who make wrong political calculations and look for fallacious pretexts to evade elections must also muster the courage to face the consequences of their suicidal decisions.
The tone is loud enough to scare anyone from disturbing the democratic process.
According to the Electoral Code, candidates representing divisions shall be nominated by political parties. Leaders of political outfits with or without council seats say they are set for the challenge which will ensure that local development is fostered. Kilian Dandifon spoke to some of them and now reports for the 7:30 News.
The December 6 convened regional elections are a crucial political appointment with power stakes measured by political parties. The NUDP knows the full measure.
NUDP was waiting for regional elections. It was the tenacity of NUDP members of parliament in the first legislature that pushed for decentralization to be inscribed in the constitution. Regional elections have come to complete the process of decentralization. We are satisfied and ready to take part.
It is not only historic to the CPDM, but the full length of decentralization.
The CPDM is satisfied with such a historic decision in Cameroon since 1884. It is an act by the head of state that accelerates decentralization with power more and more devolved. The CPDM will immediately go to work.
Even to the strongest, the battle is won in the polls.
The CPDM will not take anything for granted. Our party will work hard to keep faithful members and convince swing voters and those from opposing parties with plausible and intelligible arguments to vote for the CPDM because we have the best political program and vision.
Between now and the polling day, winning strategies and tactics will be set into motion.
Senators who represent decentralized collectivities have been reacting positively to the presidential decree convocating the electoral colleges. They describe the decision that has been awaited as a timely move that comes to complement the actions carried out to speed up the decentralization process. Senate's correspondent Charles Anyangwe spoke to some senators and put together this report.
It is no secret. Regional councillors in Cameroon will be elected on December 6, 2020, following a presidential decree signed on September 7, 2020. This decree was received with great joy by members of the Upper House of Parliament.
I received this news of the election with euphoria, with a lot of joy and happiness.
Traditional rulers who are senators see this decree as a milestone in Cameroon's democratic process owing to the fact that they will be fully involved in the exercise.
Devolution has not only come to the delegates, but even right to the suburbs and villages of the Northwest and Southwest.
Senators of the CPDM view the convening of the electorate as a final step in Cameroon's electoral process. Despite this criticism from the SDF party, one thing stands out clear. The upcoming regional elections will accelerate the decentralization process, and traditional rulers will be involved in local development at the grassroots.
Over in the littoral region, sympathizers and supporters of opposition parties and allies of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement say the regional election is the final step to the decentralization process. Alphonse Abongwa caught up with officials of Manidem and MPCN who admit that will, amongst others, solve the issue of traveling to the nation's capital, Yaoundé, to follow up files. Here's his report.
It will be the first ever regional election Cameroon will witness, and the political class in the littoral region considers it a jewel for the country.
The current socio-political context in the northwest, southwest and the far north are supposed to serve as booster for us to participate in these elections to better address the issues raised.
The politicians want Cameroonians to focus more on the concrete changes that the nation will witness with the coming of regional councils.
The regional council will henceforth decide the number of teachers and health workers to be recruited in schools and hospitals.
The littoral region is a boiling pot for political action in Cameroon, and the build-up to the December 6th date will be another opportunity for parties to showcase their capacities.
In the center, south and east regions, political party leaders reassure that the time is right for them to implement their strategies to win seats in the regional councils. For a couple of them, the outline for success had been drafted long ago, and they are now working on who their representatives will be. Romeo Nkenyi tells us more.
It is with great excitement and enthusiasm that the political class in the South Regional Capital Ibolova welcomed the presidential decree convening the electoral colleges for the regional elections on December 6. Many have, however, expressed the willingness to fully take part in the polls.
I am very happy that the president signed the decree. We have been waiting for a very long time. I think this is an opportunity for us local authorities in the south to accelerate our development.
In the East region, mobilization ahead of the elections is already conspicuous within the ranks of certain political outfits. Political pundits have been saluting the president's decision. The Central region, for our part, has not been indifferent. Politicians here have described the presidential decree as being timely. They have equally termed the move the cornerstone of decentralization in the country.
Our participation in the election is going to create a lot, not only at the level of the institution, but equally at the level of those candidates who will be taking part in the election.
This is exactly what we have been waiting for so long. I mean, it's just come to meet a popular demand.
The die has been cast. It is now left for aspiring candidates to brace up towards forthcoming elections.
And away from the upcoming regional elections, hundreds of illegal occupants on the Mesamenogo Crossroad in the Yaoundé 5 cancelled area have been evicted from their homes and business premises. The demolition, supervised by the city mayor of Yaoundé, Luc Messi Atangana, came weeks after the inhabitants had been enjoined to quit. Gilbert Ongena witnessed the exercise that is meant to keep the town clean.
Some of these people have been occupying this public space for decades in defiance of the many notices served them. This lady was instructed to dislodge her supermarket since June this year, but she gave a deaf ear to this. Today, she is witnessing the demolition of her business with tears in her eyes. This other woman is inconsolable she now has nowhere to lodge her family of 10. The city mayor of Yaoundé, Luc Messi Atangana, contends that all these illegal occupants have been served a quit notice on several occasions to no avail.
Ça date de plus de 30 ans cette histoire d'emprise.
He insists that whosoever indulges in haphazard construction of buildings or in any other form of urban disorder in Yaoundé would face the music.
We sympathize with those residents, but the law must be respected. Now on to diplomacy. The new ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany, Her Excellency Corinna Frieke, has been granted audience by the Minister of Forestry and Wildlife, as well as the Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Social Economy and Handicraft. With Minister Jules de Rendongo, the German diplomat discussed ways of promoting the sustainable management of forest ecosystems and the mitigation of climate change effects. Meanwhile, her exchange with Minister Achille Basilican III focused on her country's support to enable small and medium-sized ventures thrive in Cameroon through training and financing. In health news, preparations are heightening ahead of the 18th edition of the AIDS-Free Holiday campaign initiated by First Lady Mrs. Chantal Biya. In the Central region, educators have begun receiving lessons on how to go about the campaign amidst the coronavirus scare. Staff Lady Enanga Kebi reports on the opening session that took place at the headquarters of African Synergy.
At the headquarters of African Synergy, close to 125 peer educators converged for a drilling session on the upcoming campaign on the reduction of the spread of the HIV and AIDS virus and the COVID-19 pandemic. To this effect, the peer educators must emphasize on the barrier measures.
We are going to work individually. We educate our peers individually while respecting social distancing, putting on our masks and other measures.
So far, 600 peer educators have been recruited for the 2 weeks campaign that kicks off on Wednesday, September 9th and covering the national territory. They will be touring the neighborhoods, targeting youth gatherings, sports grounds to talk about Mrs. Chantal Biya's message against the spread of HIV and the preventive measures to reduce the COVID-19 pandemic.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
The screening system put in place by government to check the spread of the coronavirus in Cameroon has been paying off. It has enabled many Cameroonians know their status and begin early treatments that accounts for the remarkable recovery rates of 94.1%. Baldwin Sama is a Public Health Emergency Operations Center with his guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam, to talk about the national testing strategy. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kiman. Welcome. Many questions have been asked by many Cameroonians as concerns how effective our national testing strategy is, especially during this period that we have a massive testing for COVID-19. That is why public health experts are using this opportunity to reassure Cameroonians that this national testing strategy so far has been effective, and they are encouraging them to continue going for their massive screening for COVID-19. That is what we are discussing tonight with Dr. Joseph Fokam, who is our guest, and he is a virologist. Good evening, doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
Explain to us, with these different testing strategies, how is Cameroon's national testing strategy for COVID-19 designed?
Effectively, according to studies that we have conducted in Cameroon, we were able to design our national strategy based on two major assays. The very first assay is the rapid antigen testing, and this rapid antigen testing helps to detect all those high-risk transmitters in the community. Why? Because those who are high-risk transmitters, they have a very high viral load, and they are easily detected by the rapid antigen testing. Then we also have the molecular PCR testing, which is the reference approach. This one now is used to detect every case that was screened negative on rapid testing to confirm their negativity. And it's also what we use actually for those who are traveling and for those who have any clinical condition. So this approach put in place really helps us to track, to test, and to treat whenever necessary.
And finally, Doctor, how effective is this national testing strategy?
We have looked also on the data that we have generated so far, and what we realize is that this two-stage approach that we use for COVID-19 testing, the rapid antigens, helps us quickly to detect those who are those high-risk transmitters in the community. So we really urge Cameroonians to go for this massive rapid testing such that we should be able to reduce the risk of transmission in the community by detecting on time those high-risk transmitters. And also at the second point, even if you have a negative result on rapid antigen, we still have the PCR at the back line to be able to confirm your negativity. And what we are doing now so far has been able to prove that Cameroon is controlling the infection because of this efficient testing approach.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Fokam, for being a guest on the 7:30 newscast this evening. If the government of Cameroon has been successful so far, as far as controlling the spread of COVID-19 in the country is concerned, it is thanks to this national testing strategy, which has been quite successful so far. Back to you, Esther Kmer.
Thanks very much, Borden Sama. You can't be overemphasized. COVID-19 testing and treatment is free for all persons, so do not hesitate to get screened for the virus. In our in-depth report tonight, we explore what the future holds for holders of a higher national diploma. It is barely 1 week since a new batch of HND graduates joined the job market, and the uphill task is how to apply the knowledge acquired in order to earn a living. How easy is it for them to get integrated? Beatrice Ngum has been finding out.
4 academic profiles for 4 different trades trained for the job market. Paola Menye graduated a year ago with an HND in journalism, low pay but job pleasure.
We learned the US-Ethiopian relationship dates back more than.
I can't just say that I just arrived here and they just took me. Of course, they tested me, they saw I could make it, and they decided to keep me.
Serge Olivier, a 2008 HND laureate in network maintenance, picked a job with a mobile operator just a year after graduation, and is today the brain behind a startup. He and his friends have decided to be job creators. And owning an enterprise too is the vision of these young girls and boys with an HND in pisciculture.
I want to open my own farm because I have a good formation for this institute.
Schools that train in HND say the training is tailored towards job creation, but upon graduation the employment is low, but the impact satisfactory.
Those who are recruited, the employers are very satisfied. For the recruitment, the percentage is 30%. For me, it's low. So we have to increase this percentage.
With these testimonies, laureates with an HND can sail through the job market in flying colors.
On today's development story, measures geared towards solidifying trust between Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea, as well as resolve border security issues, have been examined in Ebibeyin, Equatorial Guinea. Members of the first subcommittee meeting of Defense and Security have agreed to continue surveillance in QC in the South region as part of efforts to check illegal activity in the borders. Drusilla Mokosa-Joki was on special assignment in Equatorial Guinea. She now revisits some of the major issues discussed.
The Ebibeyin meeting was the start of the implementation of the Sipopo Accords, ambitious in enabling both countries join forces to not only clear their shared borders of illegal activity, but also to re-establish trust, considerably reduced due to some socio-political and economic moves, such as the closure of their shared borders and the erection by Equatorial Guinea of a border wall infringing on Cameroonian soil, albeit the halt of construction work. After establishing infiltration corridors of illegal activity in Ebibeyin, Cameroon's commander of the 1st Combined Military Region, Brigadier General Ezonvondo Simon, and Equatorial Guinea's Chief of the Army and Defense Forces, Major General Lamberto Ngema Misha, were anxious to continue the same exercise in QC in the coming weeks, Accent will be laid on educating the population on the dangers of cross-border criminality and continuing discussions that could pave the way for the reopening of the borders and so buoy economic activity in the Central African sub-region.
Over in the southwest region, the management and staff of the Cameroon Development Corporation, CDC, have expressed gratitude to the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, for assisting the corporation that has been badly hit by the social upheavals. At a meeting chaired by Benjamin Itwe, the workers were reassured of government's resolve to protect the workers as well as the interests of the CDC. Details with Regina Ngalendoko from CRTV Southwest in Buea.
Ever since the crisis started, the Cameroon Development Corporation has been facing serious challenges, one of them being that of protecting its land. Recently, officials say some individuals irregularly secured concessions on several hectares of CDC land. During the meeting, workers were reassured that appropriate legal measures have already been taken against persons or individuals who illegally took possession of CDC land. Apart from the land issue, the official also used the occasion to express their gratitude to the head of state Paul Biya for his prompt intervention to rescue the corporation. According to the chairman of the corporation, Benjamin Itwe, the continuous survival of the CDC is thanks to the numerous financial subvention to the corporation by the government on the instruction of the head of state. Reason why he used the occasion to extend their profound gratitude to the head of state and promises to do everything to work for the reconstruction of the CDC.
Now on today's advertorial, the Cameroon Water Utilities Corporation, CamWater, is extending its supply network in Jah and Lobo division of the South region. In Sangmilima, a water supply scheme has been constructed to distribute some 7,000 cubic meters of water. Far from the targets, the corporation has committed to step up its efforts, as Spontaneous Lawang reports.
This is Sangmilima. With a population of over 65,000 inhabitants, the town is expanding enormously, but some neighborhoods are thirsty. The Cameroon Water Utilities Company, CamWater, has invested billions of CFA francs in a veritable thirst quencher.
This is a project initiated by the director of Camer from CamWater. It's about bringing water to all the population that need to have water in their home. We have many demands from network extension, so we are making some studies to bring water to the people.
The water extension project derives its source from the River Lobo. At this catchment area, we capture water with the use of 3 water pumps and another on reserve. From here, we send water to the treatment station. To ensure standard quality, the raw product is processed in a state-of-the-art water treatment station at the Monavebe neighborhood of the town. In case of any network extension, we are able to satisfy the demand. We produce 7,000 cubic meters of water and distribute just 2,000 per day. In case of power cuts, we have a power generator on standby. The ready-for-consumption water is pumped up to the central distribution center, from where it is injected into a 15-kilometer network for use. With the production plant producing some 7,000 cubic meters of water and distributing just 2,000, the management of CamWater is working towards extending the network to cover new quarters. We have suffered and continue to suffer due to the lack of water in this community of 4 villages made up of over 200 households. We thank the Director General of CamWater for thinking about us. From every indication, the taps will never run dry in Sangmilima and environs for ages.
And that report brings us to the end of the 7:30 news, in which you heard that the holding of regional elections on December 6, 2020 has been described as an implementation of the provisions of the country's constitution, where Cameroon stands as a decentralized unitary state. Join Romeo Trucy at 8:30 p.m. for the news in the French language. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to our programs on CRTV. Good night.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.